Hi, and thanks again for joining me on another episode of Sealed for Good. Today we're going to talk about sealants, and sealants particularly used with liquid membranes, particularly the water-based liquid membranes out there in the market, which many of you would be doing daily out there, and those of you that are following us that are builders or designers would see applicators using that. So you might be wondering what I'm doing with a Seeker and a Bostik sausage of sealant. Typical PU snags that many guys would use out there as bond breakers, great products in their own right, and market leaders in the polyurethane space. Difference between these and other bond breaker sealants that are out there, such as MS Sealants, which we've seen, and companies like Sudao that are huge in that space now in the country, brought that technology out of Europe and starting to promote it here more so. And we still see silicons out there, which some companies are recommending as a bond breaker. The silicon discussion I'm going to sort of park to the side because it is more for businesses or companies that believe that the membrane should not bond to the bond breaker sealant. So I'm not going to get into that debate or argument. I'm going to stick with the discussion at the moment where liquid membranes are designed or recommended to bond to the sealant at the bond breaker fillet. And so PUs are commonly used in the market, as we know. What is the difference between those and MS sealants? Well, I'm hoping that most applicators out there have read the data sheets on these sorts of products. But a PU sealant will gas in its curing phase. That's just the nature of polyurethane, whereas an MS won't. And so you would notice that those of you that have used MS sealants or MS polymers as their bond breaker, you can get over them a lot quicker. And the reason you can do that is for the fact that there is no gassing, and if it's touch dry or even sort of semi-wet, you can get a liquid over it, a liquid over that sealant, and you get still very good adhesion. With a PU sealant, however, you need to read the guidelines and recommendations because there is a curing phase or a drying phase that they recommend before you put your paint or coating over the top of it, particularly liquid membrane. So, many of you that are out there at the moment, I know would be putting these sorts of sealants down, very cost-effective bond breakers, and then you're rolling out or you're brushing your liquid membrane over the top, possibly up to an hour after the sealant's been applied. Even though when you read the data, some of these products out in the market that are PU sealants may recommend 24 to 48 hours drying before you can get a product over the top. I ask you guys the questions, how many of you are following that? If you're not, you need to be aware that when you have a breakdown or a failure point, it's not the responsibility of the sealant manufacturer, it's the responsibility of the applicator. They need to follow the instructions to ensure that what goes on top of those sealants is followed to the manufacturer's details and also what the liquid membrane manufacturer recommends. So, when you're applying your liquid membrane over these products, make sure that you have covered all bases because ultimately you are the responsible party, and you might think that you've done it before and it's worked. Well, yeah, it may have worked, you might have got away with it, but there are different circumstances, and I can tell you that we have seen many circumstances, both for internal, external applications around the country in different environments where you will find a liquid can debond or start to break down. Because the reality is PU sealants are solvent based, and a liquid membrane, particularly in the water-based space, the way you clean it up is with a solvent. So if they haven't fully cured, there could be an adverse reaction and it's going to compromise your final job. So guys, get that right. Also, in applications where you're seeing sealants used on structural sheet flooring, which is not a bond breaker, but it might be part of the instructions on how those floors are fixed with floor sheeting, you need to know when that sealant's been applied down before you go and put your liquid over the top. As you know with Gripset, our methodology for our bond breakers is our elastproof joint band. Overcomes all the bond breaker issues with sealants because we can use this underground, underwater, internal, external, with all our systems, and there's no bleed, there's no drying, and it's drying delays, and the fact is that it's rupture proof and waterproof at the same time. However, we understand that many of you still prefer the sealant fillet as your bond breaker, so check it out, make sure you get that right, and be very clear between what an MS and a PU sealant is, and understand the properties and how they should be used. Till next time on Sealed for Good, we'll see you then. Thank you.